praise in the LPL as well. So coming in onto this team should be able to at least solve a lot of the issues that LNG are having. I'm not sure if it's been enough time though for him to get to grips with what's plaguing LNG.
Yeah, I mean, he joined, what, a couple of weeks ago, something like that, maybe almost a month. But we'll see what he's going to be able to do across the course of the summer split. But on the other side of the board, we mentioned soon, we were saying how this is probably a summer team. So far, looking cleaner than they did in spring, and I hope that they can continue to evolve. Let's get into the draft, though. TF banned once again. We see the Ezreal taken away as well by LNG.
First time today that Graves has been left open. I'll be surprised if it isn't picked up by SofM. It is such a strong pick at the moment. We did see a small nerf towards it on 10-11 with the AD ratio on the Q, but I don't think it's enough really to bat an eyelid at. It's still a crazy strong pick.
Worth very quickly mentioning as well, Volibear, the new version, is available. I don't think anyone's going to pick him because he is pretty terrible.
It's not worth mentioning.
But I just
not.
wanted to throw it out there. This is where SofM immediately locks it in.
I will buy you dinner if Volibear gets locked.
Deal. I'm there.
This is so not going to happen.
This is a no-loss bet for me because we didn't make any forfeits. It's going to be Lee Sindo locked in for the side of SofM. So a bit less tanky than what we saw in the Jarvan in game number 1. And potentially a little bit more early game playmaking for the side of Sunni.
Doesn't mean that he's staying away from the Trundle, which I'm kind of surprised at. I thought we might see this. But actually, I love what LNG are going for here. So when you see the Aphelios, you can oftentimes opt in towards the Senna because Aphelios needs a little bit of time, obviously, to scale, so you're not able to punish as heavily. It's something that we see sometimes against the Ezreal as well, but it does mean you can go for these tankier supports that are able to farm up. The likes of the Maokai, the Set could be another option here, especially against the Aphelios, but what this sets up for is a strong early game presence in the bottom lane for XX, where this Maokai can continuously aggress onto the Aphelios and try and set up for some of these players.
I like this, though, from Suning, answering with a LeBlanc and just saying, look, we're up in the pace here. We want to make this a quick game. We want to go and get some dinner. So we've got a Lee Sin in the jungle. We've got a LeBlanc in the mid lane. We're looking to fight.
We'll have to see, though, how the rest of this now starts to set itself up. Because right now, for Suning, you've got this really strong composition that can work well in team fights. You got something that can side lane quite a bit well with the LeBlanc. But I'd like to see Bin pick up maybe even the likes of Ornn, to be honest, in here, just to provide that engage that will set up so well for SofM to get into the fights, as well as providing that tanky front line for the Aphelios.
Bard taken off the board once again, as obviously Graves was banned here. Not surprising when your jungle is already locked in for the side of Suning. I'm honestly amazed Graves made it to the second ban phase. But the Rek'Sai as well going to be removed. So SofM basically just say, look, get rid of all of my bad matchups and we're going to be golden.
It's interesting to see, though, LNG giving so much attention towards this Bard for SwordArt, especially when the Aphelios, like in the last game, I was like, okay, this seems to be a case of you got this Ezreal, you can get out and roam as SwordArt, but in this scenario with the Aphelios, something like the Thresh is going to be far more important because you can play well with the Aphelios and keeping him safe, and it's a staple for SwordArt. It's something that he was renowned for coming across from the LMS. Nautilus
removed, and as you rightly say, Thresh available. If SwordArt does want to opt into that, honestly, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, but also the Wukong made it through the bans. It's real strong, and it's something Bin's played before.
And it's something I actually didn't even consider. I was just like, I wanted Ornn or something that could have that engage. Well, Wukong does exactly that. It's so difficult for a lot of these top lane champions to deal with them. There is the potential here, though, we've seen a little bit, for the Vladimir to be the counter pick there. Essentially, you just hands off. I'm not going to deal with this Wukong. Look to farm up. And it is Chenlun's most played champion in the LDL, but instead opting for the Renekton instead.
Yeah, wants something where you can go toe-to-toe with the monkey here. We could see a Nidalee. We've seen it twice today from Junja in our first series on EDG. And it is very much that farm style, very much like, look, Lee Sin, you can go gank and things. I'm just going to take your entire jungle while that's going on. I think they might just be going for that lock-in the end, because I'd be very surprised if it was the Poppy jungle. Yeah, XX goes for that.
So, when all is said and done here, LNG, you've got a bit of still that poke style coming out with the Nidalee and with the Syndra as well, but their team fighting is incredibly strong. You've got the ultimate that can come through from the Maokai to set you up. or even just as a disengage tool to move back away from the likes of the Wukongs, the Lee Sins. So overall, LNG should be looking to hit that mid game in their stride where they've got 2 items and run away with the game at that point. Whereas looking over on the Suning side, you're waiting for a little bit more of that scaling to come in from huanfeng, and the later this game goes, the more items you get onto this LeBlanc, the more damage and beefier this Wukong gets. That's where they should be looking to try and push this game to.
Honestly, the composition from Suning feels like you got early game strength on the top half of the map, late game strength on the bottom half of the map. On the other side of the board, though, there is a massive mid-game power spike when it comes to the Renekton and the Syndra.
And as well, you've got a really nice gank setup on that top side, because again, all you want to do as a Nidalee is have lanes that can set you up for an easy spear. You've got that in the Renekton, where he's got the Ruthless Predator to just set you up for a spear onto the Wukong. And as well in that mid lane, don't forget Syndra can do really well at just scatter the weak, get that damage, get the kill, and try and get XX rolling. But again, XX hasn't exactly been the most proactive of junglers in the early stages, but this is the game where I think we need to see it.
Well, it's time to see who's going to win out our mid lane matchup here between Maple and Angel. Bear in mind, Maple used to be on Suning. Angel's the guy that replaced him, and Maple struggling to get revenge. It was Angel that came out on top last time these guys met in spring. So far with Suning 1-0 up, Angel is looking to repeat that performance. Now, LeBlanc versus Syndra, very much a skill matchup. I'm hoping for a little bit of 1v1 action here in this mid lane as we head into game number 2.
This is going to be, I mean, we keep saying it. I want to see LNG do something. I want to say it's a test for them, but so far they've been failing pretty miserably at it. And this is where I want to look at this series and go, okay, we've seen improvements in the offseason. We've seen something happen, but swapping up Iwandy and coming in with Shenlong hasn't really offered that a new voice, hasn't brought in that new experience that I was hoping for that could really shake LNG up. Now, though, in game number 2, maybe we'll see a little bit more of an impact, because Stake is definitely someone as a coach who can try and get these guys rallied up and get them excited about having an early game as part of their repertoire.
XX as well with this Nidalee can do a lot of work to just control the map when it comes to taking these camps, when it comes to being in charge of the objectives as well. SofM on this Lee Sin will have a lot of pressure on him to make things happen in the early game when it comes to ganks and controlling the pace of the game.
Both junglers will be starting on the bottom side of the map, so we'll be trying to enact their game plan towards that top side. It'll be interesting to see if we are going to get XX out to try and put pressure into the Lee Sin on the top side of the jungle, because with the way that this top lane matchup works, Renekton does have the push. Once he hits that level 3, he then gets control of this lane. Wukong, just because of the passive and not having access as easily for Shenlong to stack up the Conqueror, he loses level 1 till 2. So I think once you have this early lane push from Shenlong, then we can see XX get in aggressive and play into the enemy jungle on this top side.
One of the big things I'm curious about is whether or not we can get some consistent play coming out from Shenlong. Obviously, it looked great in game number 1. But let's just remember, this is the guy replacing Flandre, who is the franchise player for the side of LNG. He's been with them since he was on Snake Esports, all the way back in 2015 when they joined the LPL. Him not being the starter for this squad is a big deal for the side of LNG. And especially from the fan perspective, it's absolutely huge for Flandre not to be here. And it could signify a shift in identity for the squad as well, if Shenlong can step up and fill those shoes.
Flandre also, don't forget, was the last remaining member from the 2015 roster that Snake started with. Yeah. So if having him gone is going to obviously be pretty upsetting. SofM was actually one of those members as well that was on that roster not too long ago, but Flandre unfortunately just wasn't having the performances that we really expected from him. And
I mean, SofM, he was on that roster back in 2017 when LNG looked its best. Importantly as well, Light was on that roster in 2017 as a sub, and he didn't see much play. He was behind Crystal on that roster, but ultimately he did see a little bit of play back then, and still on this roster, still staying loyal to the organization. It feels like a lot of players being relatively loyal. Obviously, SofM more recently leaving LNG and joining soon.
This is the interesting part of this jungle pathing to just at that's level 3 to see how SofM is going to play this. Looks like he's not even going to try and contest for the Scuttling River with Chenlun pushing in on top side, but it does give the opportunity now for XX to path down towards that bottom side, pick up another Scuttle for themselves, and as he said, really get rolling in these early stages.
I'd really love to see XX starting to step up a little bit as well for himself, as he actually looks to make moves in this mid lane. Just misses the spear onto Angel. The W will be unavailable for Angel, but he's going to be fine. Ooh, nice little second follow-up spear there. Good bit of damage there. huanfeng does get a root. Iwandy going in. SwordArt's in trouble, will be rooted on up. There's a nice little death sentence. In comes the Ignite as well. huanfeng barely getting away with his life. And with XX just over the wall, he could look for a cheeky spear, but I don't think he's hunting for that. He just wants the Scuttle Crab.
I'm surprised to see Suning try and turn that one around, especially since you just saw XX exit towards that bottom side. If he just pathed straight towards the bottom lane instead of stopping for Scuttle, it could have been a spear over the wall that finished off huanfeng, as he said. So Suning playing a little bit over-aggressive on the bottom side and get burnt for it. This isn't going to matter too much in the grand scheme of things. It's still going to be the Maokai starting to farm up, but it just delays huanfeng a little bit in hitting those levels and the goal that he wants to scale later in the game.
He's going to have that goal, you're absolutely right. Wander back on into the lane. Looking towards the top side, though, obviously we did see the Wukong coming on through. It's something that was banned an absolute ton in MSC. We also saw a decent amount of presence from that Wukong, and it feels like, even though it's not been changed in the patches, it feels like it's got stronger since the initial changes.
That's the funny thing, is that it's actually been nerfed pretty consistently since it has had the rework, and it just took a while for teams to try and figure out how to play with it and how to make the most out of the champion. The biggest thing here, though, is this is a matchup where the Wukong does struggle quite a bit. The damage that can come out so quickly with the stun as well from Renekton means that you don't get the opportunities, the Wukong, to get multiple stacks of your passive. The way you stack that passive is through basic attacks and abilities. So stun, the trade pattern from Chenlun on this Renekton means it's super difficult for you to actually enact enough of that armor stacking and the regen that comes from the Stone Skin passive to try and ease out this matchup.
Despite the different draft, though, this is feeling a lot like Game 1 right now, as we have just handshake laning phase for the first 6 minutes. SofM starts things off by grabbing himself that Infernal Drake, and it will be a Cloud Drake next. So whoever gets the soul in this game will get tanky, whether it's an Ocean Soul or a Mountain Soul. Oh, hook followed up on here. Iwandy the target, but that Shroud from Senna going to do so much work to deny the damage there. Nice little lantern to dodge the root as well.
Looking at Light as well, we're actually seeing the new Senna build in this game. So we're getting all the new AD carry builds. This is the Grasp of the Undying rather than going straight in towards the... No, huanfeng is safe. Instead of going towards the Glacial Augment and stacking up that way, instead you stack the Grasp of the Undying. As long as you're also stacking up your souls, it means you're super tanky late game because you first item Frozen Malice, and it just means you're so difficult to take down, and we'll eventually get to see that as Light in this game.
And you do still do a heap of damage as Senna, because so much of your damage comes from your passive anyway, that you're still going to be incredibly effective, and you still have that obnoxious auto-attack range available to you. So nice little play here from LNG to move on in, steal themselves a blue buff away, and just return to their lanes here.
And this is exactly what XX needs to be trying to do, is play towards where he's either got pushing lanes or where his lanes are strongest, so we can steal away a few of these camps. He does have a slight level advantage, even though it's not being visible right now, because of the Scuttle that he picked up over SofM earlier, now picking up the blue buff as well. But SofM is trying to answer on that top side by sneaking into the jungle.
Oh, I've just noticed as well, you can obviously proc the Grasp with your Q as well. The Piercing Dart goes all the way through the minions if you can hit them. It does apply on-hit effect. So it's actually really, really easy, especially with a blue buff, for Light to stack that Grasp real quick.
SofM now making his presence known on the top side, which is going to put some manners in Chenlun really quickly as he decides to back away. And this is pretty nice as been, because one of the big issues with Wukong is you don't really have wave clear underneath the tower. So if you've got Chenlun just sitting on top of it, he can just constantly proc his Q, deal your damage while you're trying to clear out these minions. But not going to have that opportunity now as SofM pushing him back.
if you want to make a name for yourself, you could certainly do the MF thing and just ult the wave onto tower.
True.
I don't know if it's a good play, but it's a play that is available. It's in the book, you know, so
Yeah.
I'm just
It's
saying.
in the crossed out section of did not make.
Yeah. Look, hey, he's listened to you, though, and he's bought himself a Tiamat. So there you go. There's your wave cleared, actor. Jobs are good in.
Definitely needed to try and push out these waves. And this means that, look, when we start to, again, look across the board, yes, Sunin are kind of taking this nice and easy, but they are falling behind due to the lane matchups. So Renekton's got one for himself in the top lane, Maple as well, picking up a CS advantage. And it's meaning that LNG are able to put some pressure down and get this Rift out.
Nice stuff from LNG here. XX going to be the one to grab the Herald in the end. And he's still got, what, 5 minutes to place that in a lane and decide who's going to give that gold to. Looks like it might be straight up towards this top lane. And you know what? Getting that gold onto the Renekton, I can get behind that idea.
There's also the opportunity here when these minions are cleared out to go and look for the kill, but Iwandy.
Hook in the bottom lane. Iwandy jumps to the minion wave. Very nicely done by him to survive the engage from SwordArt and from huanfeng. That's just going to be SwordArt's ult used. It's going to be both ults used, in fact, just to force him out of lane.
LNG will be able to walk away. They're still able to heal up, though. This is the beauty of this lane. The passive from Maokai, the piercing dart from Senna as well, just means that you're nigh on impossible to push out a lane. On top side, though, XX wasn't able to find the play that he wanted to, so instead it's Bin who's actually possibly able to get a turret play for himself just off of the recall here from General.
And the really frustrating thing for the side of huanfeng as well. Hang on. Got a bit of a play in the top lane. Bin's going aggressive. Does pop the second proc of his ultimate there. I didn't quite see the first half of that fight, but...
Either way, Bin's happy. He's just picked up 2 plates for himself. I thought it was only going to be a single one that he got, but that's a bunch of extra gold popped into the monkey.
XX is here. They're happy to go for this fight. huanfeng gets a route onto Iwandy. Nothing comes of it.
I'm surprised.
I just want to see a fight, Dagda.
I know,
They keep
I know.
pretending they're going to fight, and then they don't fight.
Look, they're just trying to bait you in. This is now officially DLC. This is all that happens. They just talk about low states and how eventually people will scale to
Name
where
the
they wanna
Gromps and
fight.
whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm creative enough to name Gromps.
The Gromp is definitely a Lucinda.
Huh?
A Lucinda.
Lucinda?
Lucinda.
I don't know. I'm just... The most creative I've ever got is calling the Crooks the Stone Bros, and I didn't even
Well,
make
your
that
name
up.
is Joe. I mean, you're not exactly been named to be the most creative person on the planet. It's literally average Joe.
I didn't realize that your name defined your entire identity.
Yeah, according to the internet it does. I've seen several pages that define what Joe and
Let's
Bob
get
mean.
back to the game, though, because that's the second dragon. Suning, none of them are called Joe. You can tell by their ability to take dragons. Because apparently Joes can't do anything, Dagda.
You just do them at exactly the medium.
But look, that's soul point. So they're going to be 2 dragons away from the soul now at this stage. 400 gold behind. So I guess 400 is the amount that we're going to vary by in this game for the next 40 minutes or so.
But again, fair play to SofM. He's been doing a really good job of picking up these dragons in, well, unfavorable matchup in the jungle as well.
Oh, Angel ignited, but he flashes on forward. He wants the... What? Angel, you jumped into that one. At least they're going to be able to trade it. But Maple, gifted first blood on a silver platter.
And Maple just about able to kill his own teammates. The guy who took his position on the team. It's got to feel good for him, especially as SofM trying to make that play towards the mid lane. And look, yeah, big mistake from Angel there. Not able to dodge that final Q from the Syndra. Means that he gives over that. Yeah.
Couple of plates in the meantime, though, go the way of Light and Iwandy. And that means that at least they're getting a bit more gold going their way. You can see on the way already towards that frozen mallet, the Jorum's Fist in the inventory for Light. And huanfeng, he's got some pretty good items for taking tower plates himself. Look at all of those shurikens. Goodbye health bar. That is going to be a very dead tower if he was able to just free fire there. Now, bit of a fight underway as Light moves on forward, trying to get onto huanfeng. Root isn't quite going to land. They can't turn it back around. But honestly, they're lucky that that didn't hit, because XX was just around the corner.
I mean, I was really surprised with the angle from Iwandy on that ultimate. I thought he would have sent it further up the lane, so then you at least cut them off and set up for XX to either get into lane or whatever, but unfortunately Iwandy hasn't been having the greatest of games so far.
And he's hooked again. He's going to force the flash out from this Maokai. Quite happy with that one. Now SofM and Angel moving in as well. LeBlanc here. Jumps away, just going to be trying to steal some Krugs. As this utter siege of the bottom lane tower continues, but they're not really able to get much done. And in the meantime, Maple gets yet another turret plate in the mid lane.
We do have Bin pushing in that top lane though, so with Shenlong's roam down to help Maple with that push in the mid, he will lose a bit of CS in top, but when all is said and done, that turret plating going over to Maple could mean a heck of a lot more in the grand scheme of things.
This honestly feels like LNG are finding small advantages here in the early game. Bear in mind, they're going to scale pretty well as well, but when it comes to the team fights, that's really where things like this Wukong will come into their own. But ultimately, when it comes to the junglers, Lee Sin is notorious for falling off a cliff later on in the game.
You say that, but you've also still got huanfeng and this Aphelios who will outscale when it comes to the AD carry of LNG, and of course Iwandy on this Maokai. Yes, you get nice and tanky, yes, you get a bunch of gold in, but it's still not quite the same as having something like this Aphelios on your team. You're relying more on the extra damage coming from the rest of the squad. So honestly, when it comes to scaling, I give it to Suning, which is why we're seeing such a passive performance coming out from Suning so far. Very similar, as you pointed out, to game number 1, where they are just waiting for items to come in before they try and kick things off. It's LNG who are under pressure to try and make things happen, and we've seen little inklings of it, but not really anything that's mounted to a serious gold lead.
Not just yet, at least. Well, Dragon will be spawning in a minute and 20, so maybe that'll be...
Fancy feast.
That was a little bit close for Angel, but he gets away with it, so very nicely done with the distortions. And obviously Mimic, such a short cooldown at this point in the game, but look at the difference in gold between our mid laners here. Because Maple is feeling really strong. About 700 ahead of Angel.
We got 4 of those turret plates, so that's pretty much where all of that is stemmed from. Yeah, you got the kill as well, which is helping, but Maple has been silently but surely getting enough gold in the mid lane. Now you've got this Rift Herald coming as well, and with how low the mid lane turret is, I think it'd be a mistake from LNG to try and use it there, unless they're trying to bait out Suning to protect this mid lane turret while they turn over towards the dragon in 30 seconds.
I love how Iwandy just literally walks past SofM and SwordArt, and they know that that is not the target to start a fight on. They know the rest of this LNG squad would fall onto them. And now dropping a Herald in this mid lane, just trying to get a bit of damage down before it charges.
They get the tower. Yeah.
They could potentially threaten an inhib right now because huanfeng is nowhere near. Neither is Bin. They're not going to make the play, though.
Watch the positioning from SofM and from huanfeng here, though. As you have LNG moving in to try and take this dragon, there is the opportunity for SofM, having snuck in here unknown, to try and pick off the likes of Light or Maple on this play.
Or the dragon itself, we'll have to find out. Does have the kick available. He'll be spotted by that trap as it went down, I think. Dodges the route. Dragon's already dropped. LNG now try. Oh, the burst out of Aphelios and Wukong. In they go. The AoE is huge. Suning all over that fight. Now onto Iwandy, but everything misses, and that means that the Tiger Tree will growl another day.
Suning will move in towards this mid lane, though, and pick up this mid lane turret. Actually putting a lot of pressure down towards this bottom side as well with SofM and Bin. The engage there was beautiful, though, from Suning. Again, the second they figure out how they want to approach these fights, when they've got some of these items completed, like the Luden's Echo and the Infinity Edge for huanfeng, they're happy to take these fights, and coordination on point there.
Yes, just like the whole team jumps in together at the exact same moment. Let's just take another look.
So they see the teleport coming in from Bin, which is what prompts that quick trap over the wall to spot out SofM. But you're too late. You're already in the pitch. You're already grouped up. You try and walk out of there as Light and as Maple. You're into the waiting hand with SwordArt. You stay in the pit. You're getting caught out by Bin. It's a no-win situation for LNG. And Suning don't mind giving over one dragon. They've managed to get kills, towers, and so much more map pressure out of that one play.
And that is the perfect fight if you're playing the Aphelios. Obviously, we saw Iwandy throw his ultimate northwards in the fight, which meant that huanfeng was completely safe over towards the right. Throws his Moonlight Vigil, it just explodes onto everyone.
I like the SwordArt has opted for the Shirelia's build as well in the Thresh. Gives you a lot of follow-up with the engage that's coming through, and a runaway if you get in trouble.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive from SofM, but there's a Lantern there. He's low. Huanfeng is going to be able to trade back, keep him safe there. And I can't believe that they just got away with that one, especially with the TP from Chenlong being used as well.
The strength of Shirelli is you get a 40% movement speed buff, and it's so good in, as we were about to say, getting in, but if you need to get out, not only as the Lee Sin do you get that extra speed, but also provides much more distance for SwordArt to cover with the Lantern, so it's very difficult for you to follow up. TP wasted there by Chenlong, and LNG are left empty-handed.
And we're seeing a different Chenlong here when he's on this Renekton, when he's not on one of these comfort champions that we mentioned, like Vladimir, like the Jace. Suddenly, it's not quite as convincing of a performance. The teleport, not really what we needed to see here. He's fallen behind when it comes to the gold as well in this top lane.
Trinity Force for a bin here as well. Like, this is pretty much him saying, hey, look, I am going to go all in on either being a massive backline threat in these team fights, but also gives him the option to split push against this Renekton, which I really like, because Bin has been pretty good at joining with the team so far when they're needed at some of these objectives, but just forcing Chenlong to fight against them when the Renekton's a level down. He's also now starting to fall off in this matchup. It means that Sunni now have further options that they can look to exploit.
Honestly, the thing I'm most excited for Suning here is just this team is clearly on the same page, which is something that when we look at the middle of the table teams in the LPL, quite often one of the biggest issues is they've got some good players, but they're just not really on the same page, not singing from the same hymn sheet. If there's anything to take away from this series so far from Suning, it's that they are completely on the same page. They're making these plays as a unit, and that's looking fantastic when you consider they finished Spring 7-9. They were so close to that 8-8 mark that they needed to try and make playoffs.
And I think, realistically, with how much Suning grew over the course of the spring split, that if we see this growth continue in summer, they should be able to push towards those upper echelons, try and force themselves into towards playoffs contention. That would be such a big boon for Suning.
Suning for Worlds 2020 confirmed. Here we go, big fight on our hands. Dawning Shadow, but there is... What? SwordArt got the kill, must have been Ignite. It's going to be 1-for-1 here. Support for carry, though. This goes the way of LNG. Maybe not Suning for Worlds after all.
I mean, look, either way, Suning is still a team that for the last 3 years has not made it to playoffs in spring and has made it to playoffs in summer. So they are going to be looking to try and keep that streak going. One death onto Huanfeng is not going to deter them too much, but with the Dragon up in 30 seconds, that's going to give complete control of the area over to LNG.
Iwandy, I mean, he's on Maokai. He's happy to be the target.
I was really surprised, actually, that hit Huanfeng. It looked like he was standing behind SwordArt and SofM. Maybe SofM just word hopping a little bit too soon meant that it clipped onto Huanfeng. He does end up going down. It's not the best of times. And LNG now potentially picking up their second Ocean Dragon.
This will be a big pickup for LNG. Bear in mind, Huanfeng is back though. His Moonlight Vigil's on cooldown, so they don't have the same AoE burst that they had in the last Dragon fight. Bin trying to make his way in though, will have Cyclone available. SofM arrives. So the Smite fight is on. Both junglers the same level here. Sonic Wave in, and it does go the way of LNG. Cyclone onto multiple members here. SofM low will drop. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far as Angel's stunned up and taken on down. And LNG looking good in this fight. Light has the slows. SwordArt can't get away from this one, and another kill for XX.
Two big mistakes there from Suning. They go in aggressive while Huanfeng is separated from the team. SwordArt doesn't use the Lantern to actually reposition Huanfeng where he's protected by the squad. And as well, it's been flashing over to try and finish the kill on Chenlong. He was needed in the pit to support what was there from Suning. And now LNG get the Dragon. They get some kills for themselves. We'll have to see if they can turn it into a little bit more gold with some of these towers on the bottom side.
And that's 2 Dragons in a row now that LNG have got from themselves. The first one, they got the Dragon but lost the fight. This time, they get both.
And look at where Huanfeng is right now. He is completely zoned out of this fight. SwordArt is able to move a little bit over towards it, but by the time the two of them get here, everything's over. Everyone's dead. There's not enough damage or follow-up then from the rest of Suning. And it's kind of what we were talking about before we started the stream, which was when Suning need a front line to position themselves to set up for Huanfeng and set up for Angel, it hasn't worked out.
XX is in a whole heap of trouble right here. He's going to get chained up. And he even went for the flash, but the chain still lands. Bin the one to grab the kill credit. Iwandy now the target, although he's pretty tanky with that aftershock. Going to get the root onto everyone. Cyclone gets the knockups. These minion waves going to be pesky for them, but they can't actually cut the tree down in the end. It's going to be SofM pushed away. Chenlong trying to get on into the fight here. This huanfeng does have a whole bunch of damage. This time his ult's available, so LNG have to be cautious. Baron could be on the cards here. XX is dead.
Looks like they are going to actually turn towards this. I thought it was, yeah, just clear out the vision more so that you can have Angel play like he is off on the left-hand side here to pick off the likes of Maple or Light as they try to move into this position.
That crucial ward right there, spotting everything out from LNG, so they knew that they didn't need to face check into this one. They knew there was no threat of the Baron being taken. So now we reset once again. It's just going to be a bit of a pick. Look at the top lane, though. Look at the difference right now between these two top laners. Almost a 50 CS lead in favor of Bin, but importantly, 2-0 and 3 as well. He's finished his death stance. This monkey is becoming a real issue for the side of LNG.
Aphelios is about to become an issue for them as well. huanfeng has finished his Runin's Hurricane, now to work up towards that last Zeal item. I think it might even be a QSS that's coming next, so we'll be delaying that just a little bit. But definitely, huanfeng is now getting into a position where you need to be careful of him.
Chenlong has gone way too far out here. Cyclone from the side of Bin, and here comes the rest of the squad as well. Kicked back and finished off. Bin gets the kill. That's a pretty big pickup. There's nothing on this side of the map for them to grab off the back of it, though.
It will mean that they can push in very far on this bottom side, though, and have Bin just create that pressure when they want to go towards
Split push support. Let's go, Iwandy.
Split push Maokai specifically. Everyone knows how devastating that tree can be when it faces up against the turret.
Dude, he does upwards of 40 damage per auto attack onto those turrets. It's deadly, I'm telling you. But
it kind of feels like, you know, a tree that's grown too close to a building, and every time the wind blows, it kind of smacks against the edge. Maybe the paint chips a little bit. I feel like that's what we're going to see.
Every 2 years, the roots get further into the foundations, and you're nervous that it might do some damage. But that's the key thing, is that it's every 2 years.
Yeah. And eventually, Sunin will have to send an appraiser there to see what the damage is. But right now, I mean, they've got a monkey that's wreaking terror on these bottom side turrets. And now this Wukong has exposed that bottom lane inhibitor turret. And as we said, this Triforce build, super, super strong in working through those structures.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, in the 1v1, Chenlong cannot match up to Bin at this stage of the game. And Bin, he was the guy that we criticized the most out of this whole Suning roster, especially when we were getting towards the end of spring. He looks like a different top laner, especially on this Wukong.
Getting advantages for himself, being able to get some of these solo kills, it's been looking pretty good for Bin. We'll have to see now how he's able to try and finish this game out, if he can play as effectively around just that split push into team fights. With this dragon about to spawn in 30 seconds ago, you can see Suning are making a beeline towards this river to try and get themselves in a position to fight against LNG.
So if I'm moving towards the bottom side of the map here, Drake spawning in just 15 seconds. And you can tell Suning, they really, really want this one. They can't afford to let a third ocean go. The Cyclone's in, as is the Moonlight Vigil. Dawning Shadow across everyone. There's ultimates galore, but not much happens. There's a nice kick onto XX, and SofM finds himself a 1v1 in the fight. Iwandy, twisted advance to get on out of there. And now onto the Dragon for Suning.
And this will put them onto Soul Point. Finally been able to pick up one of these Ocean Dragons. It's been a long time since they've seen one of these, but eventually it will go the way of Suning. And now again, you've gotten, okay, controlling this bottom side. XX is down for 20 seconds. They can look to put pressure on towards this Baron while they wait for Bin's TP to come up.
Just clearing away the mid-wave, and then moving over towards that Baron pit. Clear out the vision, make sure that they're in complete control.
It is LNG, though, in these fights, taking way too many steps forward. Maple ends up getting caught out at the start of that, which caused a lot of these issues, especially when they saw SofM in their own jungle. They needed to be able to back away and play it safe. Look for the poke from XX.
He used Slice and Dice. That means he's in trouble. Cyclone's just come back on up as well. There's nowhere to run, and there's an easy 1v1 for Bin.
Suning just needs to go straight towards Baron. You now put pressure where, okay, either Light, as it looks like, is going to put pressure on this bottom side, or you just get the Baron, but they're not going to do anything with that kill. Everyone's backing.
Well, they can there's 30 seconds on Chenlong, so they can recall, have Wukong there as well, and still force the play. Bear in mind, Cyclone about halfway on cooldown right now. But actually, I don't think they're just not interested. Not about the Baron, Dagda. Not about the Baron. To be fair, it would still be a bit of a coin flip to try and force the play here. XX is still alive. There's no significant smite advantage.
Well, I don't think you even try and go for the Baron. It's just about putting pressure there. It means, again, you're in this 3, well, maybe, what, 2 then? 3 then over at the Baron, and 4 there for Suning, so they can just turn and make the play. Now, though, Chenlong has respawned, and now they're going for the Baron. This is not the way this is supposed to go.
Well, they do have been pressuring in this mid lane, just trying to clear the waves away. I think they were waiting for Cyclone to come back off cooldown, basically. Because Bin is here now with his ultimate available. Should this fight kick off, you want Bin to be there wreaking havoc. He's got a Spirit Visage as well. He is one tanky monkey. In they go for the fight. SwordArt goes golden, and another massive Cyclone. Moonlight Vigil as well. Everyone's gone golden on LNG, but while you're golden, you're doing no damage. SofM kicks back Chenlong, forces him away as he gets the 1v1 on Light, and it's an easy fight for Suning.
They will be able to push in through this mid lane. I'm actually surprised that they haven't turned back towards Baron to give him a little boost. But with 30 seconds left, I think you might just be able to end the game.
They can just tank the towers themselves, just protect the minions as they charge up towards this mid lane. 20 seconds on death timers still, and I think they're going to have the damage to do it. Bear in mind, there's an Aphelios right there, and he's got himself some items. Suning are going to do this one. A 30-minute win for game number 2 here, and win out their first series of the LPL 2-0 over